Recognizing that more than one reader I know investigates a new book by reading its last poem first, here's the last poem in Unlooked For. It's called See, S-E-E. This is the person fond of peaches. This is the person you know will not forgive. This person watches the tide all day. This person likes you afraid. This person wakes thirsty. And this person fetches the water. This person with nowhere to sleep sleeps where weariness decides. This person practices with a chisel. This with a needle. This with a horsehair bow. This person enjoys stomping in puddles. This person loves dogs. This person cannot stand straight. This person's eyes open, and seeing you, they are pleased. At one point during 25 years teaching at Linfield, we had the privilege of taking students on 3-week travel courses to the UK, during which we made several visits to writers' houses, partly to convince students that the writers they were reading in anthologies were actual people, once at least. The itinerary often included Dylan Thomas's boathouse, so-called boathouse, in Larne, on the coast of Wales. In class the day before, we'd read and discuss Thomas's Fern Hill, which starts like this. Now as I was young and easy under the apple boughs about the lilting house, and happy as the grass was green, the night above the dingle starry, time let me hail and climb, golden in the heydays of his eyes. And honored among wagons, I was prince of the apple towns, and once below a time I lordly had the trees and leaves trail with daisies and barley down the rivers of the windfall light. And as I was green and carefree, famous among the barns about the happy yard, and singing as the farm was home in the sun that is young once only, time let me play and be golden in the mercy of his means. And green and golden I was huntsman and herdsman, the calves sang to my horn, the foxes on the hills barked clear and cold, and the Sabbath rang slowly in the pebbles of the holy streams. All the sun long it was running, it was lovely, the hayfields high as the house, the tunes from the chimneys, it was air and playing, lovely and watery, and fire green as grass. And nightly under the simple stars, as I rode to sleep, the owls were bearing the farm away. All the moon long I heard, blessed among stables, the nightjars flying with the ricks, and the horses flashing into the dark. There's 3 more stanzas, but you get the idea. This is called Hillside at Larne. A fine morning after mist has cleared, the far view, Welsh hedges, small pasture, rooks, oaks, and elms. And though on this stony churchyard hill Dylan Thomas is not here, is not the white cross here, yet to sit on this grass is to think of him fondly, not his folly, not his poverty, but his outsized wishes. Language so dense fitted for mouth and tongue, sense can disappear and be hardly missed, though in their best blessed assemblies those lines of consonants and vowels conspire to all the song clarity ears might bear, and sight know, and thought ask. Blood and breath at the moon's one door, mortal, cup full in its arriving, and cloudy, starry, lonely, in its going away. So, reading great writers can sometimes function as a refuge or a connection with an earlier age. And sometimes it will take you right into the present. This is called Amherst. I read a sunny afternoon, window raised, a quiet Amherst room. Emily Dickinson's, hers, upstairs, where once she wrote, "My business is to love," and where she thought death kindly stopped. And though I know the grieved are many, yet a wild, fierce persistence, a wild, fierce presence lives. A welcome to any flower, bird, or bee, and so to any fellow human a promise of all the intricate moves of justice. To Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, Trayvon Martin and Sandra Bland, to Ahmaud Arbery and Dominique Fells, Philando Castile and Elijah McClain. These and too many more, and Emmett Till, killed when I was 4. As you can guess, I'm old enough to remember summer days when almost every household hung their laundry to dry outside. Sometimes as kids would play tag, though we'd have to be careful. This is called laundering. No color, no pocket, undershirts, we called them. Common as salmon, soft, new, pristine, given later to slack ribbing around the neck. And by one or another berries or grass, stained, or by spots of blood metallic red that never quite washed out. And there's the T-poles and lines they dry on, a pouch of wooden steel-sprung pins for blouses and boxers, tidy whiteys, bras and handkerchief squares, shifts and flannels, kitchen towels, muslin, a rose blush terry cloth robe hung by limp and footless socks. Bed linens last, sheets not linen at all, but cotton, great stiff and flapping sails to hide among or hide behind. One with a toenail hole. Hold breath, squint, look out, don't touch. I grew up with one sibling, my younger brother, Bruce. This is called Faltering Spring. Now the pink and white and last salmon dogwoods unclench, unfist, and tiny uncountable lanterns of maples open, dust and drift golden underfoot. Age, a heavy taloned bird, mutters and sleeps on my shoulder, startles, regrips. It does not like what the black-headed grosbeak sings. Today, unaccountably why, Virginia Woolf says nothing I can hear, nor Elizabeth Bishop, nor Dickinson, nor Whitman, Brooks, Morrison, nor Keats. Let go, head says. Walk farther, feet say. This stone from oak's bottom, graft and heft it as memory. Tall firs, a summer day, your brother coasting a bicycle downhill, you plodding halfway up. His shape oncoming as he smiles going by, shouts something, leans back, feet splayed, both his hands waving. Yeah, he's going downhill. Yeah, I'm going up. Okay, so we've been through a pandemic, which lingers. And At some point, that got me thinking about the flu epidemic that followed World War I. And that got me thinking about William Carlos Williams, who is perhaps most famous for his poem titled The Red Wheelbarrow, which I will quote in its entirety. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed with rain water beside the white chickens. That's it. I can remember being assigned that in high school. We had to talk about it. I don't know what we said. I should say, too, that I make no claims for the biographical truth of this following poem. It's called Reading the Autobiography of William Carlos Williams. Biography's hard. Autobiography is story. A poem makes the possible. So, winter, 1918. His gray suit spotted with powders. Dr. William Carlos Williams makes house calls. 60 a day, if we can believe him. Strep, croup, mostly flu. A killer, traveling, he half thinks, in his own instrument bag. He knows fever and worry flare at 3 a.m. Knuckles or a fist on his door, or his phone rings, they believe, they want to believe, he can stop it. Names of days when he ate last, slept in a bed, or knew anything but weak hearts, bad eyes, limp nose the size of plums. He loses track. I lost 2 young women in their early 20s, he says. Some nights, listening to breath, he nods off in the sick room chair until the coughing starts again. What he can do is not enough. He rubs his face, turns to a gray window. Chickens, a wheelbarrow, rain. The epidemic over, he says. April 1918 was as lovely as ever. So early in our marriage, back in the previous century, my wife and I lived in a converted chicken coop, which we called the shed. The ceiling was low enough, I could palm it. The bedroom just barely accommodated a double bed, and the shower was literally a tin enclosure. You can imagine the noise it made when you took a shower. But it was ours. It was freestanding. It was not an apartment. And in the yard was one surviving orange tree from what must have been at some point a larger orchard. This is called Oranges Shared. Then that spring to summer near our door, one aged orange tree made bloom on the air, flower and scent to smallest fruit, to green, skinned and lemon tart, those branches ever deeper arced, until a mild sweetness piqued the bitter. And slow days later, the bitter became oranges as we'd known them. Then, sudden sugared, as never had we known them. Oranges iconic, oranges platonic. Any meal, too many, we could not eat them. Skins fragile then, fermentation exquisite, and last a heaven of wasps and birds, a wreckage of rinds and rot. Leaves went, rains came, the roof leaked, and from work or late errand come back in the dark, that light over the rented stoop ever shorted out. We elbowed and jostled to push open the one stuck door. Now, quiet out, sun up just, as he peels a clementine, little citric fountains at fingers and thumb, globed fruits sectioned, one of them, 2, half a century of warnings. And as she walks in, she says, My nose tells me oranges. Okay, two more. The book's title poem, and then one more we'll bring up. Pauline. Unlooked for. Dinner table cleared. My father's place empty. We're outside, my brother and me, as the phone rings. And from the screen door, our mother alive calls to us, "Your father's on his way," which we can hardly believe. "Meet him at the corner," she says, and tilts her head. "Oh." So, obedient as we were then, Bruce and I, we run to that corner by a neighbor's apple boughs propped up with 2x4s, and we stand there until an older convertible, never seen by us before, stops a block away, top down, and it's our father driving, one-handed, cigarette that will kill him face in an Elvis pout. We wave, he doesn't. Maybe he'll just drive on, but he stops, and we clamber over and in. "Keep going," we tell him. "Anywhere, we don't care." And he does. And when we get back, this I love, his wife says to him, "Well, and what have you done now?" Unlooked for, what moment and memory give. Bobby Kennedy on a flatbed truck in the dark. He says Martin Luther King has been shot in Memphis, and that crowd gasps. But they listen to someone whose brother was also killed by a white man. And it is a difficult day, he says, a difficult time for the United States. We can do well in this country, he says. And one day, my father's used car, filled with water, top down in a downpour, the rest of us elsewhere, while inside he napped on the couch. Okay. Let me tell you. Sometimes you want to sit on a porch. Or if you have no porch, sometimes you want to invent one. And it need not be the widest veranda, could be concrete, small as it is, west-facing, open to the south. And you can sit in one of the two chairs, June to September, a bake oven, but in the shoulder months, a warmth might rise on your trousers and coat, and so bring back a lake surface, blinding brilliant to look at straight on, from the back of that boat you have rowed out, watching the dock slowly go distant against all those shore firs. Old bilge water sloshes warm on your bare feet. And in such wide quiet, you're glad for your legs and shoulders, glad for your eyes, for distance and the bill of your cap. Glad you have learned how to row like this, how to scull a circle, and so take your time rowing home. Thank you.